Now take a look at this map. It shows the House of Representatives by district, red for Republican, of course, blue for Democrat. I wonder when they got into that color code. After the 2008 election, pretty blue, right? Now take a look at another one. Same thing, but after Tuesday's election, wow, pretty red, right? Well, we're saying this was a middle-class revolt, a tax revolt, if you will, by the middle class. Grover Norquist joining us now. Grover, I don't think the president is going to get the message, do you? It didn't seem so yesterday, anyway.
No, he's not interested. He's not listening. And he didn't really change much after he got whacked in 2010. He still insisted that any tax reform include $1 trillion of tax increases net. That hasn't shifted. So when people talk about tax reform, the president hears tax increase. They're not even on the same page or the same plan.
Right. But one thing you hear is that, okay, one thing that Republicans and Democrats could agree on is a corporate decrease in the tax rate, which might be fine for business, but the middle-class voters who just voted demonstrated in a very loud voice they want something for them. They don't want to see another break for the rich guys, for the corporations whose stock values have been going through the roof. They want something for themselves.
Well, I think the Republicans would be wise to tell the president, put something in writing and we'll look at it. But if they're seen talking only about the corporate income tax instead of the personal income tax and other agenda issues, then Republicans could be in a challenge. That's why what you saw the Republicans lead with in Boehner and Mitch McConnell's op-ed in the Wall Street Journal and in their presentations are job-creating pieces of legislation, deregulatory, build the pipeline. They're focusing on jobs. The president wants to talk about, in theory, corporate income tax changes, but he won't put anything in writing.
But the folks out there who voted are worried about the money in their pocket, which is much less than it used to be. They need some kind of bonus for themselves, and that would mean an across-the-board tax cut, right?
That's always the better way to go, is simply to reduce taxes across the board. This is exactly what Obama doesn't want to do, but it'd be helpful to have that conversation.
Hey, Grover, it's Charlie Gasparino. What would be wrong with the Republicans agreeing just to a corporate income tax cut? And here's why. If they try for the whole thing, Obama says no on the whole thing personal, but agrees and deals with them on corporate income taxes. Why would that be a problem? I mean, that is a job creator, bringing more money, letting corporations keep. That's one of the reasons why we have very weak economic growth. We have very weak job creation, particularly outside the very high end and the very low end.
Yeah. I understand that outside of Washington, D.C., people believe that everybody agrees the corporate rate should be down. What they miss is that President Obama and Harry Reid, the former leader in the Senate, who'll still be the obstructionist-in-chief in his new position, they've added something. They want $1 trillion tax increase as part of any corporate tax reform.
Barring that, if they deal with barring anything crazy, if he's willing to deal and bring down corporate taxes, why shouldn't Republicans just jump for it?
Okay. If he's willing to do that, you might have a deal. The problem is that's not where he's been for 6 years. It's not where he was for 2 years when he had Democratic House and Democratic Senate and could have done anything he wanted. Some people have a fantasy that maybe the president will be reasonable. Why would he start now?
What about the idea of a corporate tax holiday, bringing all that cash back to America, starting with a company like Apple?
That would be good for business. It would be populist because it would say, look, there's $1 trillion, maybe $2 trillion. It would flow back to the United States. People would be hired. I mean, all sorts of good stuff would go on. And I think that'd be a wonderful thing to put on the president's desk because he's been telling the business community he was willing to fix their problems for 6 years now. The reason we're getting inversions is that the business community said, he's not telling the truth. He's never going to fix our problem.
Although they've been in denial about the benefits of a tax holiday for a long time. I've argued with some of those White House economists. They say it doesn't work, even though there's evidence it does.
They thought an imaginary $800 billion that we borrowed from the Chinese would stimulate the economy. How about a real $2 trillion that doesn't have to be stolen from anybody? It just shows up.
Grover Norquist, great to see you, Grover. Thank you very much. President